I'm
Oh my
really into
God.
art. I've been collecting my whole life. Hold on
Me
one second. Let
too.
me get my, yeah, I get really excited when I see something I have to have, you
That,
know, and hopefully
yeah.
it's not, yeah, look at that. This is called,
Oh my
this is
gosh.
from, and I got this stuff. This is from an artist in the East Coast called, Germ. He's the East Coast Germ.
That is
And
so
then
cool. I like them.
this is
They're very silly.
this is a Stony Hendrix, very interesting Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
And this, yeah, kind of a Stony Hendrix. And then
That's
this
so cool.
is, oh, there's my
Boingo.
Boingo, my one Boingo poster in this. And then this is amazing.
Yeah, I like the texture on that one. No, I feel that. It's funny.
At the end.
I went to Sick New World because I also saw the Scorpions at their Vegas residency. But I went to Sick New World
Really?
to see Danny Elfman. But my mom's phone got stolen, so we had to leave before he even went on stage. And I was like I was
Oh,
devastated. I never got to see him perform, and that was like probably the only chance I got. So I was so
wow.
excited, but
I saw
it
the
didn't happen.
Scorpions. I saw the Scorpions. I know one of the cool things about being my age is I saw the Scorpions in 1979 in Cologne. While
Really?
I was living in Cologne. I was on
Yeah.
tour. I was touring Europe. I was very young. I was like 20 years old, 21, somewhere around there, and I was touring Europe with this band called Triumvirate.
Oh yeah.
And they were like a German progressive rock band. And
Yeah.
while I was in Cologne, I saw Queen that year, 79. I
Oh my
saw
gosh, that's so
yeah,
cool.
I saw the Scorpions, they were amazing.
Because I saw Queen with Adam Lambert when I was like 7. So
Wow.
I've been to over like 160 shows, I think. I've been going
Get
since I
out of
was 3.
here. Is that
My
because of your parents?
yes and no. I mean, I now suggest concerts. Now I'm the one who's like, come on, please, can we see this band? You know? Um,
Yeah. Are you this is a common question that a lot of people ask each other. What was your first concert? So now I'm interviewing you. What was your first concert?
I was 3 and Kiss had Take Kids Free. So I saw Kiss when I was 3 and I just saw them again for their second to last show. So it's kind of a full circle moment.
Wow.
But yeah,
160 shows, or how many did you
at
say?
least
100?
160, yeah.
And you're how old? 17?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Um,
mean, my first show
yeah.
was Canned Heat. Canned Heat.
I've never heard of that band before.
They're like a blues boogie rock band.
Like BB King.
And no, they're more kind of more
Clapton?
modern. They played Woodstock. If you would
Oh,
look at
that's
a
so cool.
Woodstock movie, you could see Canned Heat there.
That's
And the guy
awesome.
I've been touring with lately is this guy Walter Trout, really great guitar player
Mhm.
that I just toured Europe with, and he used to play in Canned Heat. So it's kind of ironic that I played my first concert, and
That
I was
is,
only
yeah,
like
that's so
I
full
was
circle.
I was 10 years old
That's,
when I
yeah,
saw them.
that's young too. That's really
Yeah,
young.
but when I was young, I saw Tower of Power when I was 15.
Yeah.
I saw Chuck Berry when I was 15 at
Dang, Chuck
Disneyland.
Berry. At
I s-
Disneyland?
yeah, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I saw some cool bands. Early on when I was 16, I saw Led Zeppelin,
Oh my
the
gosh.
Houses of the Holy tour.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, one of the cool things about
Yeah,
being
I've
an
heard some
old guy.
things.
I mean, I as a working musician, a musician, I've been playing my whole life. We can't do it without people that go to shows,
Well, yeah, of
that music
course.
fans. And so I appreciate every time someone tells me, and or people that go to concerts all the time, that's their thing. always say thank you from
Yeah.
all the musicians because we can't do it without you.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody's going to say yes.
You were
I,
my first
I'm
yes.
okay. Well, I have to tell you, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I teach at the Los Angeles College of Music.
Hmm.
And so I work with students all the time for years and years.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable, I guess, talking to younger people because from my teaching, and they're mostly college age.
Yeah.
They're a little bit older. Sometimes I have I don't know, most of my students are starting around 18 years old.
Yeah.
Uh, but I love talking to young people about what they're doing, and as a teacher, I love sharing my knowledge
Yeah.
and whatever I can do to help people get, especially musicians or people who are interested in the music industry, uh, get to the maybe even possibly have a life in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things I tell my students is you can't just hang out in your room all the time.
No.
And I know you don't. You go out and you hang out.
Yeah.
That's how you go out and you meet people and you get turned on to musicians. And then from that musician, you get turned on to this musician. And every single gig I've ever gotten in my career, I started when I was 16. This year is my 51st year, 51 years of playing music for a living.
Didn't you like drop out of high school to do backyard gigs with
No,
I saw like
no.
I saw something about it, but I don't know if
I
it's
know,
true.
and that's really incorrect.
Who
I
did
did,
that?
I know. I graduated from high school,
Yeah.
and when I was going to college, um, I was going to college. I was going to East LA College.
Mhm.
I was 18 years old, and I was playing at a club in Hollywood called what is now called the Viper Room, and it's a
Yeah,
famous club, the
I
Viper
know
Room.
that club.
Yeah, it's right on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah, it's like
And
Whiskey River.
when I was your age, I was 18 years old. I was the house bass player there. I had a 5 night a week gig, and I played there
Oh,
every night. And one night, some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, there's a band looking for a bass player. They're having auditions tomorrow. Here's my number. Tell them I sent you, or here's the number to go." And I went and I auditioned, and I ended up getting the gig.
oh,
And my first show was opening for Santana in a baseball stadium in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in front of 40,000 people. And that was my first concert.
I would have died. I would have full on
Yeah,
like passed away.
that was my first concert.
Yeah,
And I ended up you know, it all started from there. I ended up going on tour with this band, and I had to leave college. So I did leave college, not high school. I left
yeah. Put that
college
out there.
to go out and start touring. And basically, I've been touring ever since.
Yeah.
It all started there.
So how'd you get into Oingo?
So I auditioned just like I
You
did for that gig. I auditioned.
Yeah.
When I went to Europe and saw the Scorpions and Queen in Cologne, and I came back to LA in 1980. I started a punk band called Food for Feet, and our third drummer, actually the third drummer we had in our band was Johnny Batos Hernandez from
Oh,
Oingo Boingo,
yeah.
and he was in the band for like 3, 4 years, and playing with Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
So when the Boingo gig opened up, he invited me to come down and audition. And I heard I went up against 100 or 200 bass players,
That's so many people.
and I ended up getting the gig.
That's
So
awesome.
that's how I got it, and that was in 1984.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's kind of freaky. That many people, if you think about it. Like, wow. Yeah. How how was it like kind of joining a band and then like it getting big? How did you
Well,
feel?
the band was already not
Yeah.
as big as it was going to get. but
Yeah.
the band was already doing like big theater size, on their own,
Yeah, because they were the
opening
Mystic
for,
Knights of Oingo
yeah,
Boingo
and
beforehand.
opening for other bands like the Police. They were playing places like the Forum, big
Yeah.
places like arenas. But on their own, Oingo Boingo on its own would play like theaters or maybe the Hollywood Palladium, place like that.
Yeah.
When I first joined the band, that's the size of venues we were playing
Yeah.
um, on our own. But then we recorded Dead Man's Party.
Yeah. And then
And
that
when
it
we
really
did,
kind of,
yeah, and when we did that album, all of a sudden it got big, like literally almost overnight, the shows
yeah.
got bigger.
Yeah. Everyone like when I talked to my best friend's dad about it, he's like, "Oh, Dead Man's Party." And I was like, "Yep, that's what everyone thinks of." Yeah. So, it's kind of wild like or people will mention Weird Science. That one too. Yeah.
That was the one because that was our first top 40 hit.
Yeah.
And we didn't write that or Danny didn't write that song as a Boingo song. He wrote that as a song for a movie
Yeah.
called Weird Science. And when it became a hit, all of a sudden the record company wanted us to put it on our record.
Yeah.
And we weren't happy about that because it
Yeah, I
wasn't
heard
meant
he
to
said
be
he
a
didn't like
Boingo.
that.
No, no, he wasn't into it, but we did it. It was financial or not financially, but uh for uh I guess it would be just for the overall packaging and the publicity of it, it was better to put the song on the record. I could see where
Yeah.
they were coming from. And it probably helped having that record on there,
Yeah.
having that song on there, but we didn't perform that song for years
Yeah. You didn't want
after
that
that.
one.
No, no, it wasn't like we just didn't do it.
Yeah. Um, ooh. So one of the questions that my friend had that I thought of too was the song Gratitude. Uh like the live versions, there's a monologue, but what happened in the studio recording? Where did that go? How
Well,
come?
the studio recording of it was done on a Danny Elfman solo album.
Yeah.
And so that was like I guess Danny's thing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the band. I had just joined the band right after that record came out.
Yeah.
So I wasn't involved with the recording on that, so I can't really comment on what the reason
Yeah.
was for that. But once the song has always been a fan favorite.
Now, do you think that you can overproduce a song?
Oh
Like when
yeah,
people remaster it on
oh,
streaming?
absolutely. Well, the overproduction is, and that's like imagine you're a painter and you're painting your blank canvas and you start painting and you start getting sometimes just simplicity is the best thing.
Yeah.
But then you start throwing all this extra stuff on there and the actual essence of the original uh, painting all of a sudden gets overshadowed by all
Yeah.
these other things. And that's the same thing with music. In music, the same thing can happen. You have this beautiful, simple song and a simple melody. Sometimes it over or embellishing things with strings or horns or whatever,
Yeah.
choral voices or whatever is fine. But sometimes it's just best to leave it really simple.
Maxwell Silver Hammer, where they do the clang noises.
Yeah,
I like that part. It always like tickles my brain in some weird
twinkling.
way.
Da, da,
Yeah.
da, 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 da,
Yeah.
da.
That song's a masterpiece in my opinion. I really like that one. But I
You
like how
know
the
what?
songs are like simple, but there's also like an edge to it.
What's so funny is you mentioned the Beatles, or I mentioned I this morning before we got on this interview,
Mhm.
I learned the song "Dig a Pony."
Oh,
It's on the Let It Be album. I had
yeah.
never played that song ever, ever, and this morning I learned that song because I'm going to perform it tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm
really?
playing. Steve Bartek and I have a band from Oingo, the guitar player from Oingo Boingo. We
Yeah.
have a band called Jackie O, and we're playing in Los Angeles tomorrow night.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And we're gonna have Carl Graves, the keyboard player on some of the Boingo albums. the later Boingums, Carl Graves is coming in to do a couple songs with us, and he asked if we can do Dig a Pony.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
I
Yeah.
learned it this morning.
Yeah.
Really fun song. It's a really cool
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. I
Yeah, you
also
could.
reached out to Steve on Instagram because I couldn't find his email anywhere.
Yeah,
I got lucky with you. I got very lucky. I,
I don't know how. I guess I never read Instagram messages ever. So I
no,
mean,
neither do
I don't
I.
know. I never do. So I don't even. You.
It was months
Yeah,
ago. It was a long time ago.
yeah, and yeah, when and yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool. I'm happy that we were able to make this happen.
Yeah.
And I'm always uh uh I just think it's really cool that your interest in the music and the industry and
Hmm.
journalism at
Yeah.
your age especially is awesome.
Yeah.
Knowing what you want to do early on is one of the
Yeah.
hardest things to figure out. I figured it out when I was a kid when I knew I wanted to be a musician.
Yeah.
But it was when I was 16. This is how I even started playing bass. I owned a car and had a driver's license before I had a bass.
Wow.
I I was driving a car, and a friend of mine needed help moving into a duplex apartment. And because I had a car, called and asked if I would help him, and I did. I'm helping my friend move bags of stuff into his new apartment. And when we were inside his new place, we looked up and we saw that there was an attic up on the ceiling. And we go, well, look, there's an attic up there. So we got a ladder and we opened up the attic and we got a flashlight and we're looking up in there. And somebody had left a bass guitar in the attic, whoever lived there
Wow.
before. And
Yeah.
the bass guitar looked like a Paul McCartney Hofner bass,
Oh yeah,
the
like the
early Beatle
violin
bass.
bass. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a Japanese copy of a Hofner violin bass.
Yeah.
We brought it down, and when I opened up that case and pulled the bass out, it was like love at first sight. It was
Yeah.
like I heard violins and I started playing it, and I my friend sold me that bass for $15, and I took it home and I started practicing like 8, 10 hours a day nonstop.
Really?
I
Yeah.
was obsessed with it. And
Mhm.
within a couple of months I was playing in bands.
What was the first record you ever bought?
That's a that's um the first the first single the first single I ever bought, I was very young. I was probably 5, 6 years old, and this was right towards the end of the doo-wop era.
Oh yeah.
And it was a song called "What's Your Name," and you could look it up. It was a hit in the doo-wop era. And the cool thing when if you listen to that song, at the very end, it goes, "What's your name? What's your name?" And then she goes, "Shoo you papara."
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
yeah. That is so of the time.
it's
Yeah.
kind of it's funny, but I've come to find out through interviews that John Lennon was very influenced by doo-wop. He loved doo-wop music,
Yes.
and you can hear a lot of doo-wop in some of the songs.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, but my first album I bought was Meet the Beatles. I saw the Ed Sullivan show with the Beatles when they made their American debut,
You saw that?
and I saw that I live on TV and I was only like 6, 7 years. Wait, that was 64, so I was 7 years old,
Wow.
and it with my family, and we were so excited. It was like watching the Super Bowl. We had like a party at my parents' house, and our cousins were over. And when the Beatles came on the Ed Sullivan show, all the girls were screaming, and all my cousins were screaming,
Yeah.
and
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
quite an event, and it kind of changed my life. I
Yeah.
kind of had an idea that was what I wanted to do.
that kind of set it in stone. You saw the
Yeah.
Beatles
And they
on the
were
Ed
they
Sullivan
were
show.
so fresh and new. Their hairstyles were new.
Everyone was
The
like, "Oh my
way
gosh,
they
their long hair! Is that a
yeah,
wig?"
and they had hair like kind of like yours. I mean, it was kind of
Yeah,
like you
cut it
and
back here.
it was so fresh and new, and I was so blown away. And I just the songs were so exciting, and the harmonies. I love harmonies, and
Mhm.
their harmonies are just spot on, amazing.
Yeah,
And so I just became a lifelong Beatle fan
yeah.
to this moment.
I was a
And
Beatles
I learned
hater.
what?
No, I was a Beatles hater until like I saw a cover band on a cruise ship, and um, I had to open the door for the bass player, which was like the Paul, you know, and we talked, and then I was like, oh, I actually like this because I was like, oh my gosh, they're so overplayed, they're so like, but this is like now, so that's why I thought that. I was like, the Rolling Stones are better when John literally wrote one of the Rolling Stones' biggest hits. So, um,
Yeah, Paul and John used to write a bunch of hits, especially Paul. Paul
yeah,
had hits for other artists. And to he people or he and people thought that because his name was Paul McCartney, that it was going to be a hit just because his name was on it. So he started writing songs under an assumed name with a different name just to prove them wrong. And
yeah,
sure enough, the songs were still number one hits.
yeah. Yeah, I personally like Wings more than the Beatles for
Wow.
yeah.
I like Wings, but not more the Beatles. But I love Wings. Wings are awesome.
I don't know. I and then I really like Paul's like solo albums, but I think I like Ram.
I do
This
too. I love Ram. That
Uncle
Ram,
Albert Admiral Halsey is like
I know.
just perfect. That's
I love
also
that
another
one.
masterpiece.
What's the one that goes da 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 da
Wait,
da da da. It's on that record.
Ram.
Da 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 da
I,
da
Another
da.
Day? I don't think it's Another
Oh,
Day.
I love that one. I love
That
that
one's
one.
so good, yeah.
Yeah,
I like that one. I like Heart of the Country. That one's really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have very good taste, I might say.
Thank you. You do too. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you.
I should have very good taste. I listen to your band, so.
And what's your favorite Oingo Boingo song?
Oh my gosh. I have like three tops. I was talking to my mom about this last night. I like Running on a Treadmill. I don't think that
Oh,
one's ever
I
been
like
played
that song.
live. He only played that during like a quarantine show. I remember asking for it, him to
Oingo
play that one.
Boingo former members, the band I have with Johnny Hernandez.
Yeah.
It's the original band, but we have a different singer
Yeah.
named Brendan McCrary, and you could see stuff on. But we've done Running on a Treadmill.
Yeah. But I don't
Yeah,
think
we do a
Danny's
lot
ever
of
sung that
obscure stuff.
live, other than like on the quarantine like show
Yeah,
he did. And then I like Flesh and Blood, and I like No Spill Blood.
right.
One of the questions I had was how did it feel before and after and during the final show, like
It
with
was
Danny?
scary. It was a combination of scary because I'd been in that band for, at that time, I'd been in that band for a quarter.
No one lives forever. Let's have a party. There's a full